Welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're on episode 220, another update episode.
Man, we're just updating you guys like crazy.
Well, the reason is I wanted to keep it real. Like, I feel that sometimes, and I don't think we do that a lot on the podcast.
What, keep it real? I think we always
No. What I mean is, what I don't think we do a lot is like we always show this like, hey, sales are great. Things are on fire. We're doing really well. And, that's not the case right now.
True.
And I thought it'd be good to have an update episode just to keep it real, because I think in 2 weeks from now, things might be far better now. There's a lot. I mean, we don't talk about the political climate and all the craziness going on right now, but it's what's today? We're recording, right? This is going to be dropping
Thursday,
right? There's a lot that may happen between now and Thursday, right?
Yeah, we're recording this early, so who knows?
Right. So the reason I say all this is I want to keep it real. There's a lot of things to talk about that can be helpful. And so I just thought, hey, let's do an update episode. And our next theme episode will be our thoughts on Q4, this past Q4, right? Because returnability hopefully will be done by then. It has to be. I plead that it's done because it's been rough. So I know what you're going to say, but how are just things? How are just things going?
I mean, it's different. It's been a different week for sure. Heather's, my wife, her grandpa, who lives in Michigan, passed away. And so her and my son and her parents all flew out there, and they're going to be there for a couple of weeks. And it's one of those things where they were kind of expecting it. They knew it was coming. It's been, a couple of years now. They been kind of understanding that this was on the horizon because he was older. He lived a good life. He's 92. There isn't the grieving isn't what's hard, but my wife, my partner, my family, they're gone right now. And so that's been really tough. And my wife does so much of the eBay business that actually right now, we decided, because I'm working, I've got a lot of other things going on, I'm trying to do everything on my own here. So we decided, okay, what if you just spend this time, do some sourcing when you get a chance? But we decided to put the eBay store on hold, like on vacation mode. Just so that
it is literally on vacation mode.
Yeah, it's on vacation mode. So usually we would just extend the handling time on our items, but we don't know how long exactly she's going to be gone because, she's trying to help out family there and stuff. So I decided, okay, like I know there's negative repercussions for putting your store on vacation mode. Mm-hmm. It's not the ideal. We typically tend to say like, hey, let's just go 10-day business handling time. That's fine. But I think I could use this time to still do listings, to still get a lot of sourcing done. But man, sourcing has been tough. There hasn't been a lot of garage sales in our area. And the thrift stores have just been really bad. And I've kind of had so many
pallet prices are high.
Yeah. So many misses as far as thrift stores, and a couple of times going out to garage sales and only having like a handful that are in driving range that, I could drive forever, but by that time you only have a certain amount of time, right? So you want to find a cluster of garage sales. So you go to the ones you can get to before 11 o'clock, and it gets to a point where you have a few bad days, you start to lose motivation, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm at that place now where it's like, I don't really have the motivation to stop at the thrift stores because they've just been not great for us. And I haven't really had the motivation to try to make garage selling work or
even the local deals.
Yeah. So now local deals though, I have been doing a few of those, reaching out to people, getting a couple of pickups for that and a few sales with local deals. And that's been good. I feel like I could spend more time. What I've really found is the nice thing with the local deals is I feel like there's a better correlation once you have a few niches, between time spent and the money you're going to get back. Garage sales are like a crapshoot, right? You can go out.
That's how they are right now.
Well, for sure. Well, even on a normal time, like you might be pretty set to say like, hey, I'll probably make a couple $100 profit if I go out. But sometimes you go out and it's like, I'm going to make $1,000 off of this garage sale run. And there might be a week you go out and it's like nothing, right? So it's always still a little up in the air about how much you're going to do. But the nice thing is, because you can focus in on a few niches, it's only a couple minutes to scan, offer up, Facebook Marketplace. So the amount of time you spend per day compared to what you're going to get out of it. Now, sure, I might go a few days without finding anything in a niche that I'm in, but I've only spent a few minutes, right? I didn't get in the car, drive, make sure I have cash, not find anything. I can check on my phone if there's anything. And if there is stuff, then the negotiation happens. And the only time I'm spending more time is if there's a sale happening. If there's a exchange happening and I'm going to have more inventory or I'm going to be selling something. So I've kind of been leaning more towards, I think the local stuff is going to be where I'm going to be focusing on for a little while until garage sale season kind of starts to pick back up. Hopefully we see some change in the thrift store prices. Might even start doing a little bit more eBay to eBay arbitrage. But it's been a different week. So not having as many sales because stores on vacation mode. We were kind of finishing up a few we had offers out on before we did that. And now it's just a matter of, all right, maybe I can start doing some listing, do a little bit of sourcing. That way, when she comes back, we can go kind of full tilt.
All right. And I appreciate you keeping it real. I mean, it was funny. I love sharing stuff that Mike doesn't expect me to share. But before the podcast, he looked at me and said, "Another update episode? Like, what?" I
literally have nothing.
I know, and I'm like, "Hey, that's what we're about documenting." I feel like sometimes we lose our way. At least I do. I don't think, I'm not saying you, but like the purpose of this podcast from day one was to document the progress of a new seller and experienced seller. I mean, day one, that's what it's about. And it's kind of pivoted a little bit. I mean, we've had not saying we're gurus, but we had our guru-esque episodes where like, hey, this is how to make more money on Q4. Like, this is how to do retail arbitrage. Like, we have those episodes, but the core of our podcast, which I think separates us from a lot, is that we're just everyday guys just trying to make money reselling. Like, and we're just documenting the process. So if that means that your store's on vacation mode and you haven't been sourcing much, that's all good. That's fine. Like, we don't need to make up stories, right, for the podcast. Mm-hmm. And so I appreciate you being real.
Thank you. I appreciate you appreciating me.
All right. So, and I want to keep things positive because there's plenty of opportunity. There's so much opportunity out there. It's just, you just got to find it. Right. So I myself, I will say, I'll just start off with the fail. The fail was, I asked you last podcast. Do you remember what I asked you to keep me accountable on?
No, definitely wasn't remembering what I'm supposed to be keeping you accountable for.
It was, do you have your 2,500 listings?
Yes.
Right?
I remember. Orlando. I was supposed to bring something up this episode. Do you have your 2,500 listings?
I don't. I don't even have. I haven't even.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I've gotten up, but I'm not even at the 2,200 mark. And this is why. So, like you, I started seeing the frustration with, going to thrift stores, going to garage sales. And yeah, could we do pallet life? Sure. I don't want to do pallet life. Like, that's just not in me. And again, no shade at anybody. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I feel like I'm working in a warehouse if I do that. Right. And I think I just got such a bad taste. There was a point in my life where I worked loss prevention for JCPenney, and they said, "Hey, for a month until we have the spot opening, would you mind working in the warehouse?" And I worked in a warehouse for a month, and I hated it. I hated having to unpack boxes. I hated having to store boxes. I hated all of it. And I think ever since then, I've always told myself, like, I will never do warehouse work. Like, I don't want to do that. And so I just said, hey, listen, sales are slow, because sales have been really slow. They have been the slowest for me I honestly can't remember. I would say maybe the slowest sales I've ever had was probably sometime around eBay Open a couple years ago. Things really slowed down for a moment. And luckily, like, an Office Max was closing or Office Depot was closing, and I was able to do a lot of Amazon. And so it carried me through. But yeah, I mean, it's slow to so all the profits I made in Q4, like, I'm losing some of those profits because I'm having to dip into those. Now, I do have a savings account and all that, but I don't dip into that unless it's an absolute emergency. Right. So I've been dipping into some of the profit that I made over Q4, which I don't like doing, but that's how it's been. So I want to keep it real. Like, my eBay sales, I mean, those of you have been able to find my eBay store. If you go to sold, you're not going to see as many sold as usual. The other thing is I haven't had a lot of high dollar item sales. And so I was just like, you know what, since things have slowed down, I'm just going to source more, which doesn't make sense. But let me explain to you why it makes sense. So in my experience of 3 years full-time reselling is when sales slow down, you just got to go more all in. Like you got to, for me, it's like I got to find more inventory and I just got to list more. Like I got to work harder, right? During Q4, I work harder because I can execute. But when things are slow in the summer, I just list more. And over time, things catch up and things better and they're okay. So I took 2 road trips. I was only going to take one, but I decided to take 2. And all I did is retail arbitrage. Just full on for eBay, by the way, not even from Amazon, for eBay. And it was good. It was good. I found a lot of inventory. I am sourcing better. I used to, Ross has this, I don't know when it is. I don't think I'm going to go out there, but they have this super clearance sale. Like you can find a pair of shoes for like $1 or whatever. And, I did that one year and I bought a ton of stuff and I still have a lot of that stuff. Now, luckily, I sold enough where it was already profitable and I was fine. But this time around, I was really careful. I was really selective. Unless I made over $50 on each item that I sourced, I wasn't going to pick it up. And so I sourced a ton. And I also have my helper. So now my helper is going to have a lot of inventory to get listed. But, it's kind of it's an interesting, I think things are going to get better. Maybe I guess maybe a month from now. I think it's going to take a lot of the turmoil going on in our country, I think is going to have to settle down. And I think once things settle down, I think we'll be back to normal. Let us know. I mean, is it just me? Is it just Mike and I that are having these struggles? Because I really wonder, like, am I doing something wrong? Or am I not? I'm pretty good at pivoting. I'm really good at adapting. But I'm finding that right now, like it's a slowdown. So
have you been listing consistently enough to trigger that algorithm like we always talk about?
I haven't been doing that either.
Okay,
because I've been
maybe that's part of it. Is just.
I mean, okay. Let me rephrase that. I have been listing every day, but so usually I've shared this before. I could get away with listing like 5 items a day. And I'm good. I mean, that sounds really bad, but and when I'm doing really well, I'm listing 25 items a day, and yeah, money's coming in. It's really easy. But I'm finding right now to make things just okay, I'm gonna have to list like 25 a day at the least, right? And my goal, it's interesting because there's some really good eBay sellers out there that list 100 to 200 to 300 items a day.
Wow,
right? And I have a lot of respect for them. That's not in me. Like, I know it sounds weird, but that's just not in me. And I think part of it is, and we shared this in our interview with Anya, Reselicious, is that I am a reseller full time, but it's not my only income stream, right? And by the way, the podcast is not an income stream. Just throw it out there right now, right? That's been another one for us. That's been kind of tough. And we appreciate everybody who's doing buymeacoffee.com/purehustle because it's allowed us to continue keeping the podcast going. But reality, like, I don't know, this is a really depressing episode. But everything reseller related.
You have some like depressing music just playing in the background.
Well, it's been kind of tough right now. So but you keep going, right? You don't give up. Like you adapt, you pivot, you put in the work. And things do come through. I mean, I've lived enough life and been in enough valleys that know that there's a dip into the valley and then there's the way up. And sometimes you're in the valley a little bit longer. I joked with somebody the other day that sometimes we get in valleys and we find a cave and we go deeper into the valley not knowing it, right? But eventually you can make your way back up. And so I anticipate in the next month, things will be going better. So, all right, now do you have any stories you want to share?
Yeah, so I sold a set of Legos that I picked up when I was on my Colorado or my 8-state road trip that I did where I pulled the trailer.
Doesn't seem like life was totally different back then.
Yeah, for sure.
And that was during COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it still seemed different.
So I picked up a couple of bags of Lego Friends Legos, and they had manuals with them, and they had, but they weren't like in boxes, and I wasn't not going to count, are all the pieces here. So I sold them as a lot based off of how much they weighed. And then I showed the manuals too, like these are the manuals that it comes with. So like that way people know like what types of pieces they might be getting. And the person who purchased it is actually a listener of the podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they bought it and they left a pretty cool message on the item. And they said, hey, just want to let you know, I'm a listener of the podcast. Appreciate all that you do. I'm one of the people who always give Orlando a hard time. And so that was kind of nice. I responded like, thank you for helping me with that. But the best part was this person listed like, here's some items like you should be looking out for. Right. And they gave me a lot of suggestions and tips and hints on like, these brands, this, and that was just really nice. And I know that you're on social all the time. So you get people who kind of reach out and say like, hey, keep an eye out for this BOLO. Right. But it was just cool to see that somebody was willing to share that with me on, even though we're both resellers, technically we could be competition.
Yeah, true.
But at the same time, hey, we're in different locations and they just wanted to help. And so thank you so much. You know who you are. Appreciate the awesome feedback and for all the support and giving Orlando a hard time. It's very,
I'm good with it.
No. And that's what makes it great is because he's easy to poke because he doesn't ever get that mad. He just laughs.
Don't poke the bear.
He's a jolly bear. So that was one thing. And then another thing. So again, my wife being gone, we had a pair of boots that we sold and they didn't fit the person and they were super nice. And we were trying to kind of work it out. And they just said like, hey, like, I don't think these are going to work. I'm going to send them back. So for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, but my wife's phone, she has an iPhone. Mine, I'm a Samsung guy. I'm an Android guy. And she cannot do returns and refunds on her phone anymore. Like she just can't, like it won't open up for her. And so whenever we have those, like she'll message me and either she'll do it on her computer or she'll ask me like, hey, can you bring your computer home so I can do this? But because she was on an airplane and she landed and she couldn't do it because she didn't have access to a computer, she goes, hey, can you do the return for this person? So I'm like, sure. And I wasn't really paying attention to the whole situation. And so I just clicked on it and I refunded the person. And then she calls me like an hour later and she said, you weren't supposed to refund them. You were supposed to do a return.
Oh.
And so I just like refunded them.
So they kept it.
Well, that was the thing is like, well, now technically like they could just keep the item, but they messaged me and said, hey, I can't print out a label. Do you want me to just send it to the address I have on the box? And it was like, yes, please. So hopefully it's coming back. They said they're going to be sending it on Monday. So fingers crossed. I mean, it's not the end of the world if it doesn't come back. You lose money in business all the time. But it was one of those things where it was just a silly error where I wasn't paying attention to. She told me to do a return and I read refund. And so I'm like, yep, sure. She knows what's best. Refund. And it was like, no. It was a return. So always be careful. Don't refund when you should return, because the nice thing with doing returns and accepting returns is there are a lot of times where they never follow through. They never end up sending it back. You keep your money. You're good to go.
You've had some good experiences. Didn't you say like last update episode that somebody contacted you after the fact and wanted to still pay you for something?
Yeah. Yep.
So that's
because eBay refunded them.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So good for you.
Yeah.
I don't have the same kind of news. So Returnary, I mean, this is just the Orlando whining episode. I am sorry. I got to keep it real. Like this is what's going on in my reselling life. So Returnary has been rough. So those of you that sell on Amazon, right? The way my things was set up, I was able to this year, I was able to sell through pretty much everything I had in Q4. I had a few stragglers here and there, but I sold everything. So I cashed out everything, right? I had all that money. I put it all into my accounts and that's it. The problem with that is when you start getting returns on Amazon is that as soon as those returns hit, you end up in a negative balance on your Amazon. And so then you're in a race, I find, on Amazon to make sure you're in a positive balance before your next payment comes through. Because if there's no money to pay and you're in a negative, they're just going to take the money from you. So the entire time I'm like, oh no, I hope this works out, because right now I think I was at a negative 1,000 something at a certain point, and then I had more returns hitting and returns hitting and returns hitting. But luckily, when I did my retail arbitrage run, I did find some high-priced Q4 items that people were still looking for, and I was able to sell them. So eventually, my balance ended up in the positive and I actually had money coming in. And, I need to get back into Amazon. I haven't sent an FBA shipment out in a while. And that's because I'm trying to rebuild my eBay, but that's been rough. Then I get a message from, remember I sent stuff to Peru and Mexico? And the Peru one made it, but the Mexico said it made it to the postal agent on October 27. October 27, by the way. I get a message on January 8th, and the message is, hey, I haven't received the item yet. Do you know when it's showing up? I'm like, what? Like, how am I supposed to know this? So I messaged them back and I said, hey, according to the tracking, here's a picture. It was dropped off to a postal agent. I would connect with them and see what happened. So they messaged me back and they said that the item was delivered, but that since they never contacted him to pick it up, that they ended up sending it back. And so he says, what do we do from now? And I messaged him back. I said, I guess we just wait till the package comes back to me. And when it comes back, I'll refund you. I don't even know if that thing's ever going to make it back. So I don't know where this is going to end up. Is the buyer going to end up opening a case? But at the same time, did the buyer bear responsibility for not checking in with their postal agent? Because maybe things are different in that town where you're supposed to have constant communication. I don't know how it works out there. So those of you who have had similar scenarios, let me know. My guess is I'm going to be eating the cost eventually. I'm just kind of just holding it out. And then it's funny because somebody caught this. I think it was Blue Shoe Resale on Instagram. Who great listener, supports us through Buy Me a Coffee. Remember do you remember what my BOLO was in the last update episode? I'm asking Mike all these questions. Do you remember?
I don't know.
It was heaters, portable heaters.
Yes.
So I thought I undersold the heater. So the heater was working perfect. It was great. Paid 20, sold for 120 something, and the shipping was $83. I get the dreaded return request. And I hate it when I get those because you're always like, what am I going to open? Like sometimes it's like, it's a $10 item, whatever. Nope, it was the heater. And the person in the message said the heater does not work. The front of it's not working, which is weird because it's completely working for me. And then said that it starts sparking when I plug it in. I'm like, oh, like that's something you don't want to mess with. Right? So it hurt because to do a return label would have cost $80. So let's do the math here. I paid $20, right? But I sold it for $127, right? And the shipping cost $83, right? So, and at that point in time,
it's gonna be like $160 in shipping.
Yeah, just shipping. So pretty much all that money's gone.
Yeah.
Right. And so I had to do the refund and just say keep it. So I refunded them the $200 and I think it was like, I don't know, $210. So not only did I lose the $20 heater, I lost $210. I saw $230 on one return. Now, granted, I have a lot of returns. I mean, my Amazon returns are worse because I have stuff that I sold for, $300 and I think I had like 10 returns that were $300. It's $3,000. Like that. So, but it doesn't matter. Every return hurts. But that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm biding my time. I'm like, hey, we're getting there. And the thing you guys, I don't know if you notice this, but your 90-day total on eBay, every time you have a return, the number drops and it drops and it drops. So I'm looking at this.
Which it should. I mean,
which it should.
Yeah.
And yeah, my 90-day total is rough. Now, the reason it's rough is, be aware of this. Is if you see somebody on Instagram, let's say somebody that sells used electronics, right? And they have a huge 90-day total, you got to remember like a lot of that 90-day total is going to be shipping. Because if they're selling large electronics, you're talking about them spending anywhere from, $30 to $100 shipping stuff per item, right? So it's not that big of a deal. Where you could have somebody that just sells clothing and they could have, let's throw it out there, 18K 90-day total, right? That means they're making 6K gross, right? And yeah, they're doing free shipping, but they may end up making more money than the person that's selling used electronics because their shipping is like what, $3? right? $4, $5, maybe 7 or 11, right? Depending if they're sending stuff priority. And their cost of goods is really low. So I just say this because I was looking at my 90-day total and I was getting really sad. I'm like, this is dropping exponentially. And it's, because I've had some big returns. I had that. I had the $200 return there. I've had some other $180 return here. I had another. I'll share one more. And actually, we're doing random stories.
Yeah.
I'm taking over the podcast. I'm sorry. So I had this item that I sold, and I know it was a drop shipper. And the person received the item. It was like this George Foreman grill kind of. Not it was a grill. It was a George Foreman air fryer. Do you know George Foreman made air fryers? Mm-mm. So the person got it, and they're like, "It's missing pieces." And I'm like, "Missing pieces? Like, no, it's new in box. Like, how could it be missing pieces?" And so I was like, whatever. I always give them benefit about, hey, no problem. Just ship it back, and we'll do a refund. I get it back. And the person misread the manual. So the manual showed 4 different models, and each model has different pieces, right? So this person just thought that the model they got would have all these pieces. Now, luckily, I'm a top-rated seller. So I was able to give them back a partial refund of 50%. Automatically, they opened the case. And they opened a case. And you know what? Here's the thing. I always say you should be a top-rated seller. eBay refunded them the remainder of the amount out of their own pocket. So I was grateful because that felt good. I felt like I finally had a win. Because the nice thing is with this item, it's still on eBay standard, it's still new in box. So I could still make that profit back. Plus, I already made profit on the item because the item was, I think I paid like $17 and I did a partial refund. And so I still made like $20 net profit. So I'm just going to make more profit.
So now it would just be sold like new open box?
Yeah. Which on eBay isn't that big of a deal. Right. It's a bigger of a deal on Amazon, but on eBay, it's not that much of a deal. So yeah. So there you have it.
I like it.
So, you got any more?
Nope. That's all I got for you.
Okay. I got one more. Make sure you have a seller's permit. I don't want to ask Mike if he has one, but I hope he has one. If you're doing retail arbitrage and you don't have a seller's permit, I share this on Instagram all the time. You're losing. I went to a store and the person dropped $5,000+ on shoes. I mean, they just, I kept seeing it scanned and I'm like, wow, this guy means business. And I think all resellers do, but I rarely see that. Like I'm usually the guy that walks in a store and I'll drop whatever, not saying anything, but I'll come in, I'll drop $5,000, whatever. But I rarely see anybody else doing that, at least where I go sourcing, which is kind of weird because I thought I would see it more. So after the guy buys all this stuff, I go up to the register. I'm like, hey, by the way, I have my seller's permit. I'm in the system. It's really easy. Just throw in my phone number, hit process, and I pop up. And they're like, oh, we've never done that before. I'm like, what? What do you mean you've never done that before? You had a reseller here and like just, 5 minutes ago. They're like, oh, yeah, no, they didn't have a seller's permit. I'm like, what? They didn't have a seller's permit. So if you do the tax, let's say it's 10%. Let's just say that's on the high end, right? 10%. Like San Diego's like 8.5.
Yeah, it's pretty close to that, yeah.
Okay, so let's just say 10% for sake of math. They spent $5,000 and they didn't have a seller's permit. That means they lost $500.
Yeah. I mean, they'll write that off their taxes when they pay taxes, but I don't think they'll get as much back, right? Because a $500 write-off as opposed to not paying $500 ends up being two different things. Because a write-off is just lowering your total adjusted gross income as opposed to how much out you actually have. So, which I used to think like that too. Like I used to say, I'm not going to get one because it helps with that. But no, you end up getting way more money because in the end, like you don't have to pay. So you have to pay sales tax. Here's the thing that we're missing here. In California, right? If you're doing local deals, you're supposed to pay sales tax, right? Luckily, eBay and Amazon now collect sales tax, so you don't have to report like sales tax anymore. But let's say he sold some of those local, right? Let's say he sold, I don't know, let's say out of the 500 pairs, he sold 50 of them local, right? He's going to have to pay sales tax on those 50 and he already paid sales tax. So he's paying it twice. Mm-hmm. Do you get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm.
So you're losing money. So just get one. It's really in California. It's so easy. It's so easy. You just Google seller's permit, California. You fill out, some information. I think you need to have an EIN, which is you can get an EIN really easy. Just type in, I need to get an EIN, and you'll get it within moments. You'll get like this PDF. There's a lot of money that you're losing if you don't have a seller's permit. So be aware of that. Okay, that's it.
Sweet.
Are you ready for reseller topics? Before we talk about that, what's going on with your head these days?
It's nice and shaved down with my skull shaver. And I know I said I was going to recharge it, but I decided not to. And I just want to see how long it'll go before I need to recharge it. And it's still going.
Yeah, I had to recharge.
Did you?
But it recharged really fast.
Yeah, no, it's amazing the battery life on the skull shaver. So if you don't know what we're talking about, and if maybe you're just listening on the podcast, Orlando and I both have very, very shiny shaved domes. We were blessed genetically with not as much hair on top of our head. And so, when you're blessed like we are, you need to groom that. And one of the ways we do that is with skull shaver, and it's been a life changer. We love our skull shavers, and you can love your skull shaver too. If you use promo code PURE, go to skullshaver.com, use promo code PURE, you'll get a nice discount on it. And I promise you won't regret it.
Yeah. So again, skullshaver.com, promo code PURE.
Can you believe some people just have like a full head of hair? I feel sorry for those people.
Yeah, I guess I feel sorry for them. I don't know. Hey, by the way, thank you to all you guys that have been using the affiliate link and buying. There's a lot of people out there join the Dome Gang or whatever we want to call it. So, what in there?
Bald is beautiful.
There you go. All right. Hey, also, if you haven't had a chance to buymeacoffee.com/pure hustle, really helps us move the podcast along. You can either sign up for a yearly membership or a monthly one. But it definitely helps, especially when we're between sponsors, and like I've said before, like right now with the podcast, we are between sponsors. Yes, we do have. So there's a difference between affiliate links and sponsors. So if we have affiliate links for everything that we sell, we get like a small percentage, right? But that's really hard, to have that as any kind of support for the podcast, right? But when we get a sponsor, it's a game changer, because when we get a sponsor, they're paying us per listens, right? And we have a good amount of listens on the podcast, so it really helps us out. That part has been missing for a bit. So buymeacoffee.com/pure hustle has been helping us fill in the gap. So we're grateful for each and every single one of you that have signed up. If you haven't, please sign up, buymeacoffee.com/pure hustle.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for us on social media, we are on Instagram, Facebook, and why can't I remember the other one? TikTok.
Twitter.
Well, we're on Twitter, but we are Pure Hustle Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We are Pure Hustle Cast on Twitter. And we also are now on Clubhouse. The reason we're not advertising Clubhouse, it's like a very elitist social app. Like you can only be on it invite only.
So pretty hoity-toity.
Well, it is. And it's the party line. Remember the party line?
Mm-mm.
So back in the day, you used to be able to call a number and there'd be a bunch of people listening in and you could have conversations. That's basically what Clubhouse is. So there's a lot of value. So if you go to Clubhouse and you can go into a room and you can listen to people talking, and then you hit a little thing where like your hand raises and you're invited to the platform to ask a question or to talk. So we're hoping in the future to make this more of what Pure Hustle Podcast does. The hard part about it is that it's not like for everybody. I think we only have like 2 invites to invite people. So I'm not sure it's going to go, but if you're on Clubhouse, we're eventually going to have a room in our own space in there so we can interact with you guys.
Ooh, we're going to have our own MySpace.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but
it's in our space.
See, I'm not sold on Clubhouse. Like, I think there's a lot of value being dropped in there right now. I'm just not they're saying that they can't allow everybody in at one time because of the infrastructure, which may be true.
I mean, that's how it was with Google, man. I was an early adopter to Google. I got a Gmail account when it was invite only. And I was
me too.
Forums.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I got a pretty good email. Now looking back, I kind of wish I would have done a different one, but it was like when I got my email, like you could pretty much pick your email. And, and yeah, now I'm like, I have a good email. It's like my last name and my favorite number. It was my football number in high school. And I was in high school when I got it. And now I'm looking back and I'm like, yeah, I probably should have just done like first name, last name. That would have been cool, but oh well.
Anyway, so hey, So if you find us on Clubhouse, say hi if you've been invited.
Yes.
I'm just not a fan of that.
You might be one of us.
So anyways, maybe I got it wrong. All right. But hey, by the way, I want to say thank you to the person that invited us. You know who you are. We're very grateful because if you didn't invite us, we wouldn't even be on there. So.
Oh, you're saying Clubhouse didn't reach out to us like specifically and say like Pure House Podcast,
No.
we love your content. We need you on our platform.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet. Sorry. Okay. Anyways, all right. Hey, if you ever want to give us a call, 619-738-1170, 619-738-1170. We actually have a hustle of the week when we get to our theme episode. That is a phone call. If you ever want to share anything, you have a question, something. I know we don't get to all the phone calls at times. At times we don't share some of the voicemails because we don't feel it fits into what we're talking about at the moment, but always appreciate those phone calls. Also, you can email us at purehouspodcast@gmail.com. And as always, we're grateful for all the reviews that you leave for us. It really helps us. We're almost at 400. We're like at 386. The number keeps climbing. And we really, are grateful for all of you and hoping that after this last episode, we'll be able to get there. I just want to read one of them because we just want to let you know we do recognize that, there are reviews there for us that really help us. So the latest review comes from Destiny Roomba. Sweet name.
Nice.
Gave us a 5 stars and said, great podcast with 2 informative hosts from different ends of the reselling spectrum, part-time, full-time. We just keep it real. They share knowledgeable tips from personal experiences and relatable content on how to grow business at your own pace. Their active IG space is also appreciated and has come in handy when learning how to deal with responding to buyers in certain situations. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I put stuff out there and I'm like, is this helpful? And I'm glad to hear it helps. So thank you so much, Destiny Roomba. All right. Now, speaking of, knowledge, let's drop some knowledge if we can here in reseller topics.
Orlando continues to call it reseller topics, but with everything happening in the world, we know that it's reseller news. And news happens, and it's happening now, and we're going to tell you about it.
We're going to tell you what's going on. All right. So this first piece came out of our posting. Did you know that I had to remove a post?
All right, I saw that on Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I love about social media, the good of social media is like when you're wrong, people will let you know you're wrong. Right.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm thankful for that. Right. And then when you're right, some people will say thank you. Usually you hear more of when you're wrong. Right. So in case you're wondering what I'm talking about, I posted box in a bag and like how you can make a lot of money and not make a lot of money, save a lot of money shipping by doing the box in a bag. Do you do box in a bag at all?
Sometimes, yeah.
So I have done box in a bag, but I tape it. Like I don't like ends of it because I always worry like it's going to get stuck on a conveyor belt or it's going to get snagged somewhere. I guess I'm not supposed to do that. Did you know that?
Yeah, I mean, I read the comments and I saw your post, but here's the thing. So the thing came out that, and this was an article from Pirate Ship, I think is what you shared. The pictures show, one where it's literally a box that has almost just been like wrapped, almost looks like it's been gift wrapped in a bag, and then the other one looks like a box that's been slid into a bag, and you can still kind of tell it has a bag shape a little bit.
By the way, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah. You should say, no, Orlando, let me talk. But
yeah, I should.
This image on Pirate Ship.
But when it comes down to it.
Well, hold on. I got to share this. The image on Pirate Ship, it just hit me. So he's showing 2 packages, right, that were shipped. But the person that did the packaging is a pirate that has a hook as a hand.
Oh, yeah, man. You didn't notice that?
How did he pack it?
You can pack with one hand and a hook.
I don't know. That just like... I don't know. I was kind of interesting. Like that must have been rough, So I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. No offense to anybody. I just picked up on that. So all right.
Captain Hook is a reseller. Now you know.
Okay.
So the idea was, and the way they said is it can't have 4 dimensions or 3 dimensions.
3 dimensions.
Well, I meant four sides, so like a box, but it can't have 3 dimensions. It needs to look like a bag, but clearly even when you put a box in a bag, it still has, but I get the concept there. The thing though is, even though that's the official, reading through the comments, and like even you said, you've done it many, many, many times.
Oh, all the time.
Is it one of those things where it's like, nobody really cares? I mean, I guess you might be that one, right? Where you send something and then they send it back and they say, sorry, you can't send it like this. And then you have to fix it. But if majority of people are doing it, it's not causing a problem. So the official is you can't just shove a box in an envelope or a bag where it's basically like wrapped and it needs to,
Like you shrink wrap. You can't shrink wrap around the box.
right. But even that, like even the way we ship the mugs, right? Like how to do the mug.
Yeah.
You're kind of doing that in a way.
Yeah,
Like
but it's
you're
in a padded, so it's different.
But even still,
Padded priority.
I guess it's different. But in that same sense, like you're kind of doing that concept. Like
I
you're
see what
fitting
you're
something
saying.
in something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so if people can do that and it doesn't cause a problem, then go for it. But officially don't, because you might be the time when they crack down on the rule. It's like driving, right? Like the speed limit's 65, but everybody drives 75. And sure, somebody's gonna get pulled over for that, but 99% of the time, nobody does, right? And I've seen people doing that with cops on the road, and the cops don't seem to care. They're looking for the people going 85. So it's one of those things where technically the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law. And if the letter of the law says you can't do this, but the spirit of the law seems to be like nobody really cares, then, continue at your own risk.
Yeah, it's interesting because some people on the so we pulled the post, the box in the back, because I don't want misinformation. I don't want somebody 2 months from now going, oh, this you can do this, and then they get dinged. So I removed it. That's why I removed it. Some people were like, oh, leave it up, to keep it real. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want anybody's business to get hurt by this. And so when we posted a new one, some people were like, I don't care. I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and it's true. Like I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing, right? Other people actually reported that they did get caught and it ended up costing them like $36, right? Depending on what it was. Now, it's interesting because when Amazon returns shoes to me that I sent into FBA in a box, it looks kind of like an envelope, but it's still boxy.
You just need to get bigger bags.
Yeah, bigger poly. Yeah, the biggest one I've seen is like a 24 by 24, something like that. Now, somebody cracked me up. Somebody had mentioned what is the magical part of have box in a bag? Like, why does the post office look at it as a cheaper alternative? And I don't know the answer for that. It still takes up the same amount of space, right? So, anyways, so do not tape down your edges when you're shipping box in a bag. It needs to look like an envelope per pirate ship. Okay. The post office actually has nothing to say about this. So, I looked stuff up and I couldn't find anything. So anyways, pirate ship has that inside angle.
Yeah.
So, all right. Did you know that, have you, before I say, did you know, have you caught up on your required item specifics?
Yeah, man.
Like way back?
Way back. We got it done. But the reason we got it done is I'm a procrastinator. Why do today what you can do tomorrow? I'm just kidding. It's terrible life advice. But my wife is not. She's very much like, she was the kind of student in school or in college where she would get an assignment and it's like, all right, this is due in 3 weeks. You have to have this step done by this step. And she would just finish the whole project that night because she didn't want to have anything due. And so, yeah, so we looked up how to do it and we together worked on it and we had it done like right away.
Nice. All right. So
what about you though?
Oh, no, I got it done. Remember, I did a whole YouTube video and everything on it.
Yeah.
So I got it done. But in case you have not, in case you're like, you know what? I don't got time for this eBay. I'm going to focus on Q4. The time is coming where they need to be done. And that deadline is February 22nd. By the way, when the Poshmark thing, when I was talking on the podcast, like, hey, it might be next week. And actually, the day we dropped the episode is when it went public.
Yeah. And kind of the bummer on that is my wife had already saw all the information about it, about getting, because we're Poshmark ambassadors. And so by the time I realized that it was about to drop, it was too late to get it in on that. I didn't even know they were going, public. And for whatever reason, we didn't communicate, my wife and I, over this. And so it started off like $48 if you could get the pre-IPO launch. And within that same day, it went up to well over $100.
107 was its peak.
And then it dropped significantly, that's not uncommon for a new IPO, is to have a big, because there's a lot of excitement. So if you can get it on the ground level, but it's usually those bull runs don't last very long. So I tried to get in like the top half of the bubble and didn't quite time it right, which is fine. Didn't lose much, but yeah. So I typically don't do that. My thing is not day trading, and I just don't know if right now Poshmark is a company I feel secure enough investing in long term. And when I invest, I try and invest knowing that when I put money into a company, I want this to be until I die almost. Like this has to be a company I believe in, that they're going to make money, that I'm going to be getting dividends. But man, yeah, that was one of those things like, oh, I could have doubled all my money that day.
So I'm kind of torn. And I know this is not a stock podcast, but we keep it real here. So it jumped up. I would have sold that day. Like once it peaked, I probably would have sold before the day's end because it is going to drop. But it's interesting because Etsy has grown a lot. Etsy's stock is worth way more than eBay. Like if I look right now on Etsy, but eBay's constantly been at like.
I don't think it's worth more than eBay. I think it might be selling more per share, but that doesn't mean it's worth more.
I see what you're saying. But yeah, I mean, but it's interesting that eBay's just hasn't. Like I can't see Poshmark staying. So Etsy right now is at $203, right? eBay is at about $54 right now, right? And Poshmark, I wonder if Poshmark's going to drop down to the levels of eBay, right? Just something to keep an eye. I don't know. It's just weird how these things. I don't know. Let us know. What are your thoughts? Why is eBay not like it capped at about $60? I think it was a little higher than that. Will Poshmark go down to eBay's level? And why is Etsy continuing to go up? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Not a stock market podcast, but I'm interested.
Yeah.
So,
and then also remember, it's also the total market value of the company, which you have to look at, and not just because you can have a company that's really small, their stocks sell for $5,000 a share, but it's you're buying 10% of the company instead of like 1/1000th of a percent. So
that is true. That is true.
The total number that you're paying per share isn't what you're actually looking at. Now, when you're looking at percentage of gain, if you're trying to do day trading, yeah, it might be kind of shocking if you don't see a company moving up, but usually that kind of volatility is not a good thing. You want to see a company growing, and it's fine to have big spikes, but if your company is constantly going through peaks and valleys, it means there's probably a lot of instability or uncertainty in the market. Nobody really knows what this company is going to do. So it's speculation. So when you see a company not fluctuating a lot, that's a strong indication of this is a strong, solid company that is priced well. People understand its value, and it's not just speculation of like, is eBay going to make it? Should I jump in?
And I wonder about Tesla. Like I got in Tesla like back in March and April before the split. I don't know. It's been good. It's been a good ride. We'll see what happens. So anyways, all right. This is not about stocks. A lot of you have already tuned this out. I'm sorry about that. All right. So required item specifics are due February 22nd. eBay has extended the ability to get the free trial of OptiSeller. So if you just type Google OptiSeller, there's a tool. Or I find that the fastest way to update your required item specifics is through using their spreadsheets. And I have a whole YouTube video on our Pure Hustle Podcast YouTube channel you should check out. It's really simple. But if this is not done by February 22nd, what is eBay going to do? I don't know, but I do think it's going to have something to do with how often your item comes up in the search. I think it's going to play a major role because usually when eBay says, hey, we want this done, they will usually favor those individuals. Or at least I could be wrong, but it seems to me that it definitely wants people to fall in line. And so the algorithm will push things higher if you've got those requirements taken care of. So be aware of that. All right. So question for you. When something says, best offer and it has a line through it on eBay, Mike, have you been able to find like how much something sold for?
No, I don't typically. I just assume less. Okay. It's a safe assumption.
That's a safe assumption. Okay. So there was a point in time we shared this on the podcast where you could go to flippertools.com and it's eBay best offer. That thing has not worked in a long time. It says something about like this has been abused, no longer available or something like that. Which I don't know. How can you abuse that?
I don't know. You got to be nice to software. You don't want to abuse it.
So it hasn't been working. So it was a really nice tool because, you could be out in the wild, you find something, you're like, oh, this is worth a lot. And then you check out the best offer and you're like, oh, it only sold for 10% of what the asking price was. Okay, probably a pass. Well, we haven't had that available, but this is why I say you got to be on social media. So I was on TikTok the other day and good friends of the podcast, Nashville Flippers, the guys that send us those shirts. Remember they had different shirts. You had like an AC/DC looking Nashville Flipper shirt. I had a 49ers logo shirt they sent us. And they have a TikTok and they showed this Chrome extension. And so, if you want to know more what they're talking about, go to Nashville Flippers on TikTok. But it's called Slab Watch. Not really sure why it's called Slab Watch, but that is the name of the Chrome extension. And if you use this Chrome extension, you add it, it's free. You can find out the best offer price, and it makes it really easy. Now, the only problem is it's only available on desktop, right? You can't use Chrome extensions on your phone?
No.
Okay. Which is kind of sad. You would think by now you could do that, but anyways.
Yeah.
Okay. So with the Chrome extension, you go on there, you go to the sold listings, and then the ones that have the line through it, it'll bold in red actual price. So you click on actual price and you'll find out how much the item actually sold for. And so I'm looking at a Rain Spooner shirt that said $49.99 and what the actual price is. And this one, I think this is a combined item that they sold. So let's go.
There's limitations to the.
So if somebody had like a combined sale, you're not going to be able to see. But here, I'm gonna pick another one. Let's do this one. So here's a wine shirt. Actual price was $64. The selling price was $64.99. I click on it, and the actual price it'll sold for, it'll tell you on the site. So it actually sold for $50. Right. So this is a great tool because then you can actually see, all right, is the market inflated? Like, are the best offer prices actually what items sold for? Because I'll give you an example. I had a CNN plush. I think I shared this as a hustle a week. The best offer price that it showed on eBay was $199.99. When I clicked on it through FlipplerTools.com, it told me it sold for $64. That's a huge dip. But here's the thing. The general public didn't know about that tool.
So they think that it's worth more than it is.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if people can, without using this tool, if people try and abuse a market that might not have many items. Maybe you have like a one-off of something, and so you list it a bunch of times really high, and then you sell it for actually $1 to like a friend, just so that it has the cross of I sold it for $200. So people think they're worth $200 even if they're only worth $50, because it's all about what people are willing to pay. And if people think, we talk all the time, people think things are worth more money, they'll pay more money.
Yeah. Well, I ended up selling that CNN thing for like $125. Right. But here, I'll pull up another one. Rain Spooner shirt, $74.99. You click on the bolded red actual price, and this Rain Spooner Christmas shirt sold for, and not that you're seeing any of this, but it sold for $50. Right. So it's a great tool. Again, thank you, Nashville Flippers. Check out their YouTube channel. Check out their Instagram and their TikTok. They have a short video. Maybe they're going to throw one up on YouTube about Slab Watch. Slab Watch. So I thought I'd give them credit instead of just saying I found this, because I don't know. I don't think that would have been too kind. So I think that's a great tool. So
credit where credit is due.
That's all I got for reseller topics.
All right. Which means that now it's time.
Bolo. What's your bolo?
Yeah.
All right. What is your bolo?
So I think I've given this one. Actually, I'm certain I have before in the past, but it's one of those things I think it's good to have a reminder, because unless you've listened to all 220 of our episodes back to back,
we're bound to repeat something at some point in time.
So I've been selling a lot of baby carrying hiking backpacks, and I've been selling them locally. And again, beginning of the year is always a good time for this. And then again, as the weather gets a little bit better, depending on your location. But these are the types of items, and maybe just baby items in general. One of the first things you mentioned that you sold was like a stroller.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
So one of the nice things about baby items, especially baby items, is if it's not a toddler item, they don't actually take as much abuse as you would think. Now, some things might get spit up on it and all that kind of stuff. They get, ruined that way. But a lot of times things are only used a couple of times. Like I've sold several Bob strollers. They're, running or, hiking strollers that have got big wheels on them. They got 3 wheels. They're better for the road and stuff like that. And a lot of times you find them in really good shape used, because people buy these things, they use them once or twice with their kid, and then they don't use them anymore. Or if they use them all the time, then they're beaten up and you don't buy those ones anyways. But a lot of times you find these things. I find hiking baby carrier backpacks all the time, and they're usually in relatively good shape. Most of the wear that's on them, you could tell, is just from being in storage. But people don't want to spend, because everybody knows, like, I want to get this hiking backpack because we're going on a trip. But how often am I going to do it? Do I want to spend the $150 or $200 for a brand new one? Or I can spend $50 or $60 to get this one off of OfferUp, and it's basically only been used a few times. And the nice thing is that I actually have used them with my son. So when people say, like, I always get questions. I mean, usually people don't know I'm a reseller when they come to buy these. They just think it's my personal. And so they'll ask questions like, how long was your son able to ride in this, or things like that. And I can actually answer the questions from experience. So maybe I have a little bit of heads up because I have that experience. I could say, oh, this is the best way to put it on and take it off with the kid. And they like it when you do this. And it gets a little heavy after this much time. And he didn't like it after this age. So I have that information to give. But even without that information, if you can pick them up and you can get them at garage sales a lot, you can get them at thrift stores. Because again, people have them. Maybe they sat in the garage for a couple of years after they bought them. And then they're like, what am I going to do with this thing? And so they sell it or they give it away. And that's your opportunity to strike. So check out anything like that. The hiking, baby backpack carriers, or even like the running strollers. The bob market, the used bob market is still pretty high.
Oh, yeah.
So it's hard to find good ones cheap. But there's been a few times I've been at garage sales and someone will sell them to me for $15-$20. So,
and if you can, put an ad or something out there, it definitely helps, because usually the baby resale, it's been a while since I've gone to these, but man, before I was doing reselling, oh man, I remember like I couldn't pay the bill. So like we'd go to the baby resale shop and like sell our stuff back. Mm-hmm. I can't believe, anyways, I just think about how much money they made off of me. But usually they'll look it up and they'll pay you 25% of what you can buy at retail. So if you're able to put an ad out, or you're able to offer somebody, hey, listen, you can get this at the baby resale and you'll get 25% of what you paid, but I'll pay you 30 to 35 or maybe 40%. It may be worth it to you. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of money to be made there. So, all right. So mine is, I'm trying to figure out trends right now, because in the clothing market, things are shifting. I talked about Rain Spooner, but man, Hawaiian shirts, they're just not selling for me. But you know what's selling right now really well are, in my opinion, hockey jerseys. Like the good hockey jersey, they have to be, either vintage, or they have to be kind of like the pro looking hockey jerseys, and not the, sometimes you go to like Ross and you find the chintzy ones that are like on sale for $10. But hockey jerseys, they're climbing in price is what I'm noticing. And maybe it's because of, I don't know, lack of access. Maybe you're not able to get them because certain stores are shut down, maybe because of COVID. I'm not sure. But even right now, I just typed in generically on eBay hockey jersey and I look at sold listings. And all these solds are really good solds. Like the most recent, I mean, there's only one that's under $20. All of these are easy 40, 50, 70, 80, 100, 200, 300 for some of these jerseys. So I definitely see an uptick happening. I actually just sourced a lot of good jerseys for a good price. Those of you know they're out there. I don't think they're out there like they were a week ago, but there was a time in the market where you could buy a lot of hockey jerseys from certain stores. But even if you find used ones from the thrift store or from garage sales, definitely keep an eye, because I just see there being an uptick in hockey jersey sales. Maybe it's gone from like just fans to now it's kind of like, influencers are wearing Harley Davidson. Maybe we're going to see influencers wearing hockey jerseys.
Yeah, I think it's getting a little bit bigger in the U.S. also. So if you're our friends north of the border, hockey's a big thing for you. Certain states, it's a little bit bigger. Mm-hmm. But I think it's starting to grow in popularity here. More and more students that I have are in hockey leagues. I've got nephews that are in hockey leagues. So I think hockey is becoming more popular. So again, that might be an opportunity to strike early in a new niche.
Yeah. So, and do your research. Make sure they're the pro looking ones. Usually Starter is a good brand. CCM is a good brand. Stuff like that. Just keep an eye. But yeah, hockey jerseys.
I like it.
All right. What are you looking forward to here, Mike?
I'm looking forward to just listing. I'm not looking forward to listing, but I'm looking forward to getting, I'm looking forward to getting my listings up and getting my store built up a little bit more. And I mentioned doing the more local deals, picking up things locally last time. And so I want to continue doing that. Hopefully still find a little bit more gold doing that. It's a different type of treasure hunt, but a treasure hunt nonetheless. So hoping to keep doing that and, get a little bit of rest and relaxation. And I don't know if my wife's going to listen to this one, but kind of make sure that when she comes back that the house is in perfect order, and then I can kind of bless her with, things being nice and done, and she doesn't have as much weight on her shoulders. So I'm kind of looking forward to using this time wisely that I have, where I'm kind of on my own, and then hopefully using it to bless her. So
Yeah, nice. Keeping it real. This has been one of the most realist podcasts I think we've had.
Yeah, so real.
So I don't know how you measure realness, but
on a real scale of 1 to 10, this is 11.
I think so. Now, I'm looking forward to listing away because why I say that is I've talked about sales being slow. So hopefully by me listing away, I can report in 2 weeks that, hey, sales definitely uptick. Things are great. Things are happening. And then, I can show the value of, upping your listings when things slow down. My helper is finally getting caught up. So I switched things up with my helper. Initially, she was just listing buckles and shoes. And then I did clothing. And clothing's a whole nother animal because you have to take right angles. You have to do measurements. You have to put, the material. And so, I had to give constant feedback. I mean, she was great, but, there's a certain way I like doing things. And so I also had to let go of certain things. I had to go, you know what? This picture isn't exactly how I want it, but, it is what it is. Let's keep moving. You got to give up some of that control. So I'm looking forward to getting tons of stuff listed. I'm looking forward to removing inventory from my place. That's a goal I keep talking about. I want all inventory out of my house. I don't know if I'll be able to get it all done. I have certain closets that are full of clothing and I don't know where else to put them. So they're just going to stay there for now until I move, which hopefully, I don't know if I'm going to be able to move. Man, the housing market is just keeps going up.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, I think we're at a place, at least in California, where you missed it. I think if you haven't bought a house.
Yeah, when did I miss that? Like in 2008?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to keep going up, but I think I read a couple articles recently that made some valid arguments. Basically said that home ownership is in the near future might be priced out for even the middle class. So it's kind of a scary place that we're at. But again, what does that mean, and how can we as hustlers utilize that information and direction the economy is going in order to capitalize and turn it into our benefit? Always adapting, always adjusting.
Yeah, I agree. And again, if you heard me before, I'm not big on home ownership unless it can become an asset and not a liability. Right. But I'm just not finding either. Like rent prices aren't changing either.
Yeah.
Right. So that's my difficulty in all this. But I'm hopeful and we'll see where that goes. And then I'm gonna go garage sales next week. Hopefully, this last time I shared this on the last podcast. When you look, did you even do research for garage sales at all?
Yeah, I looked up a few.
Right. And usually we have about 400 or 500 available in San Diego. This time it was like 100. Yeah. And I know those of you on the East Coast and, are saying, who cares? We never have them. During winter. I get it. I hear you. But we're used to, we're spoiled. Hey, we have.
And part of it is you're saying 100 over San Diego County, which you're talking so much mileage. You can only pick 15 to 20 of them to go to, and they're spread out that far, and you're already past the 11 o'clock.
Yeah, no, when we break it down to where we live, it went down to 30. And then when you break down the 30, there was maybe only like a handful to go. And then even out of that handful, there may not be any there. So I'm going to test it next time, see what happens. Hopefully I get a lot of this retail arbitrage I talked about early in the podcast listed, and I'll be able to move forward.
Yeah.
Hey, hope your sales are going great. Hope you're able to adapt. Just keep going. Things always end up better. It just sometimes requires a little bit more hustle. And with that being said, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling. Peace.